has had a scheme in place now, private sector, which, in my opinion, has picked 4 of the most deprived areas that are being used. We don't pick those areas either. They come from national statistics, which send down to us where the most antisocial behaviours, where the poorest properties are, and everything else that goes with it. So we get those figures. We just announced at the last cabinet meeting an extra 4 areas. And I believe our people, if you like, because of the shortage where we were at the time, have developed those first 4 areas, going into the second 4 areas at an equal base. So in other words, it's not costing the council 180 more to get where we are today. So I think we've done a job, whereas Liverpool, I'm treat this actually, they've done a blanket cover, and you can easily see the blanket cover doesn't work. Government have since now stopped blanket covers. So what we're doing at this present moment in time, i.e. 4 particular areas, is what the government wants, what we want in Phill, because that's working. And I will, as I say, I will send you those statistics, because they are quite alarming, some of those statistics, and for some reason there's been some really bad people there as well. But I've got to say, and I will say publicly, most of the landlords on Wirral, I'd say 98, 99% of them are good landlords who operate perfectly into what we're trying to do. There are 1 or 2 bad landlords who try to break the system and have been caught out. And I thank our officers for finding them out, because don't forget, we always say on the lovely, everyone deserves a good home. And I think that's where we're coming from. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Adam Sykes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a question to Phill Davies, Leader of the Council. Can I begin by congratulating the Leader of the Council on his appointment to the Board of Arts Council England North West. Judging by his report to Council, it's clearly his passion. Would he therefore agree that libraries are an important part of our culture, and ahead of Wirral being a borough of culture in 2019, does he believe that the review into the borough's cultural services will be published by then?
Councillor Phill Davies.
Yeah, well, I thank Councillor Sykes for his kind remarks about arts and culture. I do believe, actually, I'll answer your question in a second, but I do believe that arts and cultural industries is often seen as a kind of nice to have rather than an essential part of the economy, and therefore it's it's been my passion really to ensure that it is centre stage of the economy. I want to pay tribute to Chris Briggs, who's also banged this drum for a number of years now, Chris, and the fantastic work that you've done as part of the cultural agenda in Wirral has really kind of put it up there right at the top of the priorities. So thanks to Chris. In terms of the libraries review, yes, I mean I've not made any secret of the fact that we need to make our leisure and culture services sustainable, financially sustainable, particularly in the context of the cuts that we're having to deal with from central government. And to that end, Councillor Brightmore has been working tirelessly for the last couple of months since he was appointed to review all of our leisure and cultural services, and we'll be within the next couple of months we'll be coming forward with detailed proposals, not just about libraries but the other parts of the arts and culture estate as well. And I want to thank Phill for the fantastic work that he's been doing. I look forward to the recommendations and proposals coming forward within that time scale. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That was the 5th question to Councillor Phill Davies. Councillor David Elderson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question really for the Housing and Planning Cabinet Member, Stuart Davies. In December 2017, George, the Council completed a public consultation on Greenbelt Review consultation process methodology. The results of this consultation have still not been made public some 10 months later. The public interest argument for disclosure of results of this public consultation is that it allows a greater degree of scrutiny and transparency over how decisions are reached. So what I'm asking for, George, is it important that the public authorities allow the decision to be scrutinised by the public to ensure public confidence? How can the public have confidence in the Greenbelt Review consultation if they are still not being allowed to scrutinise the results of the public consultation of the Greenbelt Review technology? Really what we're asking for is information on that consultation methodology that was produced 10 months ago. Thank you.
Councillor George Davies.
Yeah, thank you, David, for your question. In answer to your question, David, consultation is still taking place, and when that consultation is concluded, and when we know our figure from the ONS, please.
Carry on, Councillor Davies.
You might like what some people have to say sometimes, but nevertheless, I'll speak the truth.
Be a first.
Yeah, okay, let's go. Next day. So we move to a situation, David, just in terms of your situation. Yeah, consultation will go out and will be released as soon as we get on December the 3rd. We are told now by government they will be responding to us with the figure that we're working for, based on the consultation results that we got back from all these people in the gallery and from everywhere else. We've had quite a good response from them, and we will take the actual consultation back to a cabinet meeting in, I think it's November, am I right? December 17th, and that's what we will do. Thank you.
I understand why Councillor wants to come to speak again. I don't think you answered his question, George.
It was a quick clarification, really.
But it's not another question, it's the same question. Please.
A quick clarification. It wasn't the consultation itself, George, that I well know about, and thank you for confirming that to me. It was the methodology of how it was going to be undertaken, which wasn't debated before the consultation process started. That's what the complication was. It wasn't meant to be a problematical question at all. It was just that you can't really expect people to understand the process of the consultation unless the methodology has been explained. Okay, apologies. Thank you.
Councillor Bruce Perry.
Thank you very much. I have two questions to ask this evening.
One at a time, please.
I'll do that, one at a time. First one is to Councillor George Davies. And my question to Councillor George Davies is, does the Cabinet member believe the decision by Magenta Living... Oh, sorry. Does the Cabinet member believe the decision by Magenta Living to withdraw from Property Pool Plus will make it harder for people in Wirral to find suitable accommodation?
Councillor George Davies.
It's not in the report, but I certainly will take that up. No problem at all. Yes, they have withdrawn from Property Pool Plus, but nevertheless, they are looking after their own properties when they are dealing with it. I mean, you've got two directors here of the company.
It's not, I'm advised it's not for debate, there's no reason why we should withdraw.
Come back in. But yes, we are at this present moment in time, they have dropped out of Property Pool Plus, which causes a problem because they are the biggest RSL on the world. But nevertheless, we are still working with them in terms of they are having their own way of giving the properties out, but they are still working with the council on a lot of other properties as well as the thing. So it isn't completely as bad as it actually sounds in the very first instance, Bruce. But in the first instance, money-wise, coming into the council, so the revenue that comes in off them to be in Property Pool Plus has gone. That's something that our finance people have to deal with. But apart from that, in terms of helping out with the houses, yes, they are still doing that as well.
Thank you, George.
Councillor Tony Norbury.
Question, finance and income generation to Janette Williams, delivering fair and sustainable budget. Will the Cabinet member join me in celebrating the fact that our first policy forum for many years with grassroots members on Wirral council taxpayers is taking place on the 27th of November, and that this will be the first of many such forums, and there will be full Cabinet involvement in that policy forum. Thank you.
Janette Williamson.
Thank you. Actually, I'm going to my report, still happy to answer it. Yes, of course, any kind of engagement with the wider community is always welcomed, and I believe that has been discussed this morning.
Councillor Steve Williams.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question for the Cabinet Member for Highways and Transport, Stuart Whittingham. Can the Cabinet Member confirm that all requests and reports of problems from residents and councillors which have previously been referred to BAM Nuttall but were not completed at the time when the contract was returned in-house, that they have all been identified and they will be actioned?
Councillor Whittingham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for the question. I think Council will be pleased to know that the transfer back to council control took place on the 1st of October and has gone relatively smoothly. However, BAM also have handled a number of jobs back that they've not been able to complete. We are on top of that, and obviously there will be a period of time whilst there's a bit of catch up. But yes, that's the answer to the question. Thank you.
Councillor Cathy Hodson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Question for the Cabinet Members for Highways and Transport, Councillor Stuart Whittingham. At the Business Overview and Scrutiny Committee on Tuesday the 18th of September, I asked how much of the Pothole Action Fund grant of $563,000 had been spent up to date. Bearing in mind that the figure given at the Scrutiny Committee for the first quarter, April to June 2018, was $33,000. The Cabinet Member was not able to answer the question, and I have not had a written reply in the intervening period. Is the Cabinet Member able to give me an answer now?
Councillor Whittingham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you've been aware, the figures that we brought to the Scrutiny Committee in quarter one got till March the 31st to spend the funding, which we will do in full.
Councillor Whittingham.
No, supplementary. Councillor Leslie Rennie. No, sorry, Councillor Leslie Rennie.
Mr Mayor, if I could just finish off. It was part of the same question.
Well, you should have asked it. I'm sorry.
Since the Cabinet Member doesn't have the figures available, perhaps I can help them for the benefit of other councillors who may be interested, and I suspect that will be anyone with roads in those wards. The answer is as follows: 191,000.
Will you please sit down, Councillor Cathy Hodson? Councillor Leslie Rennie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question goes to the Chair of the Environment Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Tony Jones. It is linked to your report, Tony, in which you allude to the company that carries out the enforcement for us in the borough. My question is, as you'll probably be aware, over the last probably 5 years, whatever it is, where is it? Over the last 5 years at least, the tenacity and the perseverance of Wallasey Ward residents working with the Wallasey Ward councillors has at last been rewarded, in as much as there looks like there is going to be plans put forward for the eradication of the unsightly and environmental impacts which the camper vans are having down at Harrison Drive. I understand there's going to be an overnight ban from 8 PM till 8 AM in the morning. Could you update the council as to where we stand at the moment and what timescale we're looking at for those proposals to be brought into force?
Councillor Tony Jones.
Thank you very much for your question, Councillor Rennie. I'm afraid I can't. I believe that issue has been referred to the Business and Overview and Scrutiny Committee.
Time's up. So, we now move on to item 7, members' questions, and I think Councillor Blakely had something to say.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I need to move, I believe, Standing Order 10, brackets 2B and 11, in order to ask a question of Councillor Abbey, who is the District Council spokesperson. the Combined Authority Transport Committee. Does Council agree to that?
I believe Councillor Abbey is willing to respond, is that correct?
Okay, thank you. Councillor Abbey, as you aware, Avon buses ceased trading on Friday 5th of October without any warning, leaving those who relied on the services provided isolated. While we thank Merseyside for the speedy action and working with other bus operators to plug some of the gaps, we note that services 16, 16A, 17, 17A and 18 have currently been withdrawn. The 16 service and the 17 service linked Morton with Clatterbridge Hospital, and the withdrawal of the service have left those who require the service at Clatterbridge, including many cancer patients who have to put all their energies into fighting the disease, with great difficulty in accessing their treatment clinic appointments. The 18 service linked the Lingham and Millhouse estates with Birkenhead, and the withdrawal of this service has left hundreds of households without any service at all. Could the spokesman for the Transport Committee tell Council what immediate processes Merseyside has or will put in place to ensure people are not isolated, and further will he tell us what long-term plans are in place to ensure residents who live in Morton are provided with a bus service they can rely on?
Councillor Abbey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to thank Councillor Blakely for his question. And can I just point out a few facts before we move into the substantial answer to his question. Bus funding since 2010 has been cut by 45% nationally. This council bus supported bus services as a direct result of austerity equates to over 3,000 routes lost nationally, including many on Merseyside. And since 2010, commercial bus operators have put up fares faster than inflation, making profits of £3.3 billion. £3.3 billion commercial operators. Avon was a commercial operator, and obviously their business plan or the business plan that they had wasn't viable. Can I just say what Merseyside have been able to do and what we intend to do in the short term? We only received confirmation that Avon buses ceased trading on Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning. Merseyside will then follow the standard procedure for when a bus operator no longer trades. Our first approach is always to explore the possibility of an alternative commercial operator taking over routes. On the first day, Arriva began to operate the 10, 10A and the 83A services, which gave links to our Park Hospital. Stagecoach announced that they were going to operate the 22 service, also operating links to our Park. On Monday the 8th of October, and Merseyside contacted other bus operators to establish the resources that they had available. And this is one fact that people have to understand, that not every operator has spare buses, and not every operator has spare drivers sitting around, so it's not as easy as you think. And unfortunately, Happy Hours was the only one in position to cover, and they covered 3 of the commercial school runs. And these were commercially operated by Avon, and they were school runs. We were able to cover 3 of the 5. Merseyside is currently undergoing a procurement process to provide longer-term replacements for the withdrawn Avon services. Which, due to the public sector procurement rules, and specifically required to use the urging process, it's likely to take a number of weeks to complete. Services are anticipated to be put in place by early November, and may or may not be like-for-like replacements, and or may take an alternative form in order to best restore lost links and provision within the budget available to Merseyside. The Merseyside website will continue to contain the most up-to-date information on service replacement and alternative travel details, and that can be accessed by accessing merseytravel.gov.uk/travel updates/pages/service and previously operated by Avon buses. I'll send that link out to all members so they can link into it. And I'm sure that Councillor Blakely would be interested in the following information. Merseyside website continues to contain the most up-to-date information on service replacement and alternative travel details. With respect to the service 16-17, and passing to Walton and Sorrel areas, need to make a change to Wirral Park or Clattery's hospitals. The following applies at the moment. Salford Massey will continue to be served by the 1B, and this is a supported bus network by Major Travel. It provides a connection to Morton Cross, which users will be able to connect to Birkenhead, Liverpool, Liscard, Park and Chester. Service B, 1B runs hourly Monday to Sunday. Town Area will continue to be served by the 1B, 407, Monday to Saturday daytime, and 423, evenings and Sunday, providing links to Morton Cross, Birkenhead, Liverpool and Park. Unfortunately, Millhouse Lane is currently without an alternative service. However, most residents will still be within 400 metres of bus route, and the nearest service is likely to be the 1B, the 38 or the 407. Similarly, Norwich Drive and Man's Drive area is currently without an alternative service. Once the tender process is completed, all stakeholders will be notified what provision is being reinstated, and we're hoping that will be by Friday the 2nd of November with a start contract on the date of the 4th of November. I can't give any further details until the contracts come in. The tenders have gone out and will be subject to one finances and emergency travel and the amount of resources that we've got. 2, the price contracts coming back in, and 3, and 4 is the availability of buses and availability of drivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whittingham. That's how you answer the question.
Yeah, I know, yes. Can we move on, please? I'm notified of 4 further questions. The first one is Councillor Pat Cleary to Councillor Angela Davies. Councillor Cleary, do you wish to ask your question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question to Angela is, and it relates to the proposed golf resort scheme in Wirral, the programme for which was outlined in the Cabinet meeting on the 18th of December last year. Specifically, have the detailed design studies now started, and when are they likely to be completed? When will the scope of the studies be published for public scrutiny as previously promised? And when can we expect a public and statutory consultation to take place? Thank you.
Councillor Angela Davies.
Thank you for your question, Pat. So the Nicholas Joint Venture Group has commenced work on the scoping of the environmental impact assessment, which follows the EIA guidance. The other studies will be commenced in March 2019 once the Council has considered the funding and phasing submission from the Nicholas Joint Venture Group, which will then be submitted to Council in December 2018, and following assessment is expected to be considered in February 2019. The studies are going to take approximately 12 months to complete. So on the current timeline, this is going to be around about March 2020. Statutory consultation will commence once the planning application has been received and validated by the Council. The estimated time for this submission is approximately summer 2020. The scope of the studies will follow the requirements of matters such as habitats regulations, environmental impact assessments, traffic impact assessments, flood risk assessments, and economic impact assessments. The various documents concerned with these matters set out the areas to be considered in the various studies, so there's a fairly prescriptive process for each of them. I hope the response is helpful.
Next question is Councillor Phill Gilchrist to Councillor Anita Leach. Now, Councillor Anita Leach isn't here this evening, so I understand Councillor Phill Davies will answer. So, Councillor Gilchrist, do you wish to ask your question?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Despite requests, the central reservations on the A41 Newchester Road between Eastonbrake and Colbeck Road do not appear to be treated effectively, if at all, and the weeds in front of the shops close to the junction with Brightmore Road remain uncleared. When will these and other areas be tackled to fulfil the promises made at the Special Environment Committee held on the 5th of July?
Councillor Phill Davies.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. If I may just apologise for Councillor Anita Leach not being here. She's actually sustained some quite serious damage to her tendon in her hand on some cut glass. So I'm sure all members of the council will join me in wishing her a speedy recovery. We've certainly done that today, so she does apologise for her absence. So can I respond? Thank Councillor Gilchrist for his advance notice of the question. The answer is as follows. These areas were weed treated between the 4th and the 8th of June. A second treatment was also applied on the 1st of October. However, the treatment does not appear to have taken well here, and a further treatment of this section by the shops of Easton Village and the central reservation between Easton Rake and Coldbeck Road had been scheduled to be retreated yesterday, Sunday the 14th of October. So obviously, I hope that's actually happened, and we'll obviously await the outcome with interest. But if Councillor Gilchrist feels that there are still problems despite the treatment yesterday, please let us know. Thank you, Mr.
Next question is Councillor Phill Gilchrist to Councillor Stuart Whittingham. Councillor Gilchrist, would you ask your question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does Wirral still carry out scouting to see which streetlights are off or out? And are these reported for repair, or are reports from the public relied upon? Were not the new LED lights intended to report their faults electronically themselves? In which case, why are so many lights off on the New Ferry bypass and in the vicinity of the junction of the A41 with Port Causeway? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Stuart Whittingham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Gilchrist, for your question. I'm happy to confirm that and give you a detailed answer.
Mr. Mayor, you can't hear. I quite agree. Please, Councillor Whittingham, speak up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, protection.
Now, members, please. Councillor Whittingham.
Scouting is carried out once a month on all roads in the borough, and any faults found are issued for repair on a priority basis. A similar repair arrangement is also in place for faults reported by the public. The Council's street lighting central management system monitors the performance of the Council's main road LED lanterns. The system does not identify lanterns that are lit, it identifies lanterns that are not communicating with the system, which generates a false report that could be a faulty lantern, a faulty equipment in the base of the column, or an underground mains cable fault. The outage is investigated for the faults to be determined as above ground or below. But that is the case with the junction with A41 and Port Causeway and the New Ferry bypass. An instruction was sent to Scottish Power on the 18th of December 2018 to repair the underground cable fault affecting the streetlights at Port Causeway, and they have until the end of October to complete these works. The cable fault on the New Ferry bypass, however, requires a more substantial repair. A section of cable approximately 80 metres long has failed in a number of places, affecting numerous streetlights. The cable repairs are particularly expensive and difficult to locate. The complete replacement of the streetlights and cabling has been included in the A41 Rockferry New Ferry bypass reconstruction and improvement scheme scheduled for the 1920. The scheme also includes the replacements of the light columns along the whole length of both bypasses. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We move on to item 8, vacancies. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. I've turned over too quickly. The fourth, final question, or fifth, including the extra one. Councillor Stuart Kelly to Councillor Stuart Whittingham. Councillor Kelly, do you wish to ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought my interjection on the Constitution area meant that I'd fallen out of favour. My question to Councillor Whittingham, for which I've given notice of the question on the article that I refer to. Has the Cabinet member read the article in the newsletter of the Wirral and Cycle Merseyside group entitled Wirral Council's Unilateral Road Safety Plan? As he will have seen, the article states that the plan contains no significant new actions, is 2 years behind the commitment given in the Wirral plan, and prioritises keeping speed up rather than addressing the appalling level of deaths and serious injuries. They finally point out that despite Wirral View reporting that the new plan aims to work with residents, there was no consultation with groups like Walk and Cycle Merseyside during the production of the document. Can I ask why there was no consultation with groups like the Merseyside Walking and Cycling Group, and if he is satisfied with the plan in the light of those criticisms.
Councillor Stuart Whittingham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks, Stuart, for the advance notice. I'm happy to be able to give a detailed reply. So, we have had a long history of undertaking measures and initiatives based on evidence we have regarding road collisions. There are now almost 1,000 fewer injury collisions per year than there were in 2000, and more than 170 fewer collisions per year than in 2010. Our plan aligns with our statutory duty to improve road safety and use the evidence we have to develop actions. Its development follows on and indeed complements the wider Merseyside Road Safety Strategy approved by the Liverpool City Region Combined Authority, which itself was only published in mid-2017. As I was forward to our plan, though I am a firm believer that we should not have any road deaths, we must be pragmatic in our approach by concentrating on factors that are within our control. Members should also note that the Council is not the only body responsible for improving road safety. All road users share the roads and we all have a shared responsibility. There are a number of innovative schemes with actions within the plan, including the Council's Manual Business Initiative, which members may recall won a National Transport Award in late 2017. We know that it's mostly adults that hold a driving qualification that are implicated in the majority of collisions and are actively engaging with them by employers as well as the business managers. Our new work also leads the way across Merseyside and nationally, where we have developed educational workshops and driver assessment programs for older drivers aged 60 plus, which have shown to be effective in raising their knowledge and skills over road safety issues, high-low speed, use of mirrors, outside parking, etc. Again, we lead the way of our engaged novice drivers programme to educate both young drivers as well as provide additional information and involvement for parents who also drive. We are developing initiatives to improve education and training for motorcyclists, as well as working with the police to develop schemes aimed at reducing the problems caused by antisocial and illegal use of motorcycles, including the scourge of scramblers. Our plan also recognises that effective management of speed on our highways is a priority, but also that the Council should again use evidence base for the development of low speed limits where appropriate. We regularly engage with our Sustainable Transport Forum, with cycle groups and with the Rural Pedestrian Group to discuss important issues related to road user groups. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So now we move on to agenda item 8, vacancies. Agenda item 8. Members are asked to consider a report of the Director of Governance and Assurance on the appointment of committee places, pages 71 to 74, and are asked to receive nominations in accordance with Standing Order 25(6) in respect of any proposed changes in the membership of committees and to approve nominations for appointments to outside organisations. The front page of supplementary agenda sets out the following changes. Councillor Pat Hackett to become Chair of the Business Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Do I have a mover? Councillor Phill Davies, seconder. Councillor George Davies. So, the electronic voting system needs to be activated. Will members please cast their votes? Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. Votes in favour 39, votes against 18, abstentions 3. The motion is therefore carried. Next appointment is Councillor Steve Bowes to become Chair of the Planning Committee. Do Do I have a mover? Do I have a mover? So, Councillor Phill Davies, seconder, Councillor George Davies. So we need to activate the electronic voting system. Will members please cast their votes? Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. Votes in favour 59, abstentions 2. That is therefore carried. Next, Councillor Jean Stapleton to become Vice Chair of the Business Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Do we have a mover? Councillor Phill Davies, seconder, Councillor George Davies. Electronic voting system to be activated. Will members please cast their votes? Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. Thank you. Votes in favour 58, votes against 2, abstentions 1. That is therefore carried. Next, Councillor Brian Kenny to become Vice Chair of the Planning Committee. Do we have a mover? Councillor Phill Davies, seconded by Councillor George Davies. Activate the voting system. Will members please cast their votes? Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed.
You can introduce this your selection.
Votes in favour 58, votes against 0, abstentions 1. That is therefore carried. Now to the recommendations in the report. Council agreed to the revised constitution and membership of committees for the remainder of the 2018-19 municipal year, including deputies. Having regard to the political proportionality requirements of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 and the Local Government Committees and Political Groups Regulations 1990 and relevant case law. Do we have a mover? Councillor Phill Davies, Councillor George Davies seconding. Activate the voting system. Members please cast their votes. Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. Votes in favour 62, votes against 0, abstentions 1. That is therefore carried. Council agree the names of appointees to committees and outside bodies may be given to the Director of Governance and Assurance following this meeting, if not already done so. Do we have a mover? Councillor Phill Davies, seconder. Councillor George Davies. Activate the voting system. Members please cast their votes. Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. And the same result, votes in favour 62, votes against 0, abstentions 1. So that motion is carried. Agenda item 9, matters requiring approval or consideration by the Council. Councillors, we now turn to item 9 on pages 75 to 78 of the Council agenda, which includes a recommendation requiring approval or consideration by the Council. Item 9A on pages 75 to 78 of the agenda. With reference to the Cabinet meeting held on 16th of July 2018, minute 11 first, the Council is recommended to approve the revised capital programme of £86.4 million. I now invite Councillor Phill Davies, Leader of the Council, and Councillor George Davies, Deputy Leader of the Council, to move and second the recommendation contained on page 76 of your agenda papers.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second.
Thank you. So, activate the voting system. Members, please cast their votes. Has everyone voted? Voting is now closed. Votes in favour 61, votes against 0, abstentions 1. That is therefore carried. So we move on to item 10, notices of motions. Councillors, we now move to item 10 on the agenda, pages 79 to 90. And the Council is invited to consider the following notices of motion which have been submitted in accordance with Standing Order 7 and which will all be considered this evening. Amendments have been submitted to several of the motions and these are listed at pages 1 to 5 of the supplementary papers. The first motion, motion 1, CCG, Public Consultation on Urgent Care. I now invite Councillors Pat Hackett and Steve Fowles to move and second their motion at page 79 of the agenda papers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So it's a formal.
Sorry, proposed.
Formally seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Notice has been given of 2 amendments in respect of this item. They are set out on pages 1 and 2 of the agenda supplement. Therefore call upon the movers and seconders of the amendments to please so indicate. First amendment, Councillor Phill Gilchrist to formally move and Councillor Dave Mitchell to formally second the amendment.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Second amendment, Councillor Pat Cleary to formally move and Councillor Mike Sullivan to formally second the amendment.
So moved. Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Pat Hackett, you have up to five minutes to speak to the motion. And members, at this point, can I please remind you that we have set down in standing orders, movers have 5 minutes, seconders and other contributors have 3 minutes, and I intend to keep you to that. I have a button in front of me which will cut you off. Please, Councillor Hackett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that reassurance. Mr. Mayor, only months since Eastern Walking Centre was saved after a tremendous local campaign against it. We now have 5 walk-in centres across Wirral, including Eastern again, facing closure in their current format. Under new plans to replace with health and wellbeing centres, which will be by appointment only, and an urgent treatment centre at Arrow Park, among a few other things. Mr. Mayor, the Wirral Clinical Commissioning Group has announced these plans because, as we heard earlier from the good doctor, because they say residents were confused about where to get help with urgent care. They say they want to move care closer to home. And again, as we heard earlier, that came from a huge survey of only 405 people. Mr. Mayor, are you confused? Will an urgent treatment centre at Arrow Park be closer to your home? The move will deprive people of local, easily accessible and greatly valued centres used by thousands of Wirral residents every week of the year. Mr. Mayor, will it be easier for you to get there? Of course it won't, I would argue. Transport links, as we've heard earlier